Hi guys, welcome to the Reach tutorial. Today we're going to teach you how to create a weather widget. Now to get started, we'll go into the layout editor and then we'll just select or double click into that particular template. So we'll double click in here and then it will bring you to this platform. Now the first thing I do is I actually hit the show zone preview. And the reason for it is that it's going to show me my background. Every widget that I basically create or I put on top, it always helps to see the background. That way I know where to align things up. Now the way this works is that you basically want to create a zone first. Once you create the zone, then you can basically apply the widget to it. So going back, we'll create that new zone. We'll click on the button up here in the top right. And then now the first thing it's going to ask me is what is the name? Now you can really name this zone whatever you want. However, I found it a lot easier to name the zone based on whatever widget. So if it's a logo or time or schedule, that's the name that I'm going to give it. So again, for this tutorial, we're going to do the weather. So I hit next. Now it's asking for a size. Now I have no idea what size I want to make this widget, but I have to basically put in some sort of information just to get the zone created. So as a default, I've just gotten into the habit of doing 100, 100. Once you enter this information in, you are basically done. So you can hit submit and close. Now you can see in the top left here, this particular zone has been created. Now I can move it around to wherever I want, and then I can also adjust the size by just kind of selecting it and moving it around. Now on the top left here, we also have the X and Y's up here, but then we also have the width and height. One thing to always note is that every zone or every widget that you create, you always want to make sure that it's sitting on top of the background. So to accomplish that, you want to change this Z index to 1. If you don't change that, when you go to preview it, your widget will not show. So always make sure that every basically widget you create, you change that Z index to 1. So as I was saying earlier, phase 1 was to basically create the zone, which we've done. Now the second phase is basically applying the widget to the zone. So what we'll do is we'll double click in here and we'll go into add widgets. Now you can see a series of widgets have shown up. Now down in the bottom left here, this is the weather widget. So we'll click on here. And really what we're going to do is we're going to start from the left and we're going to work our way right. Now for this particular tutorial, we can really skip the first tab. So we're going to jump into the weather settings here. Now there's two ways that we can pull the information in. One would be entering a zip code. The second way would be entering a city. So if I type in a city here, you can see below it's going to give me options of that particular location. So if it was one in, let's just say, let's see here, New York, I would just select here. And then it's just asking me, it's just, the right city. Then I would hit yes. Once that's done, now this is set. So really the last option here is basically to style it and then choose a template. Now here's the styling tab right up here. So you can definitely do the same thing as all the other widgets. Bold, capitalize, choose your font, size. And then also to the right here, we have a selection of templates. So as a default, our weather widget is going to do a 3-day. If you just want to show 1, or maybe you want to show a 5-day, you could play around with these templates. Now one thing just to note about our weather widget is that it does involve some CSS. And the reason for it, or really where it is, it's going to be back in the weather settings here, and you're going to scroll down. Now, depending on the template, basically you might need some CSS. My biggest recommendation would be to just style it up. That would be the easiest way. And then from here in the templates, you could just pick and choose. Now, what you can do is you can kind of copy some of the CSS that I'm about to do. Now, as far as icon versions, we have 5 versions of the weather icon. As a default, it's going to show you the first one. But if you wanted to play around and see what the other ones look like, you could do a V2 for the second option, a V3, a V4, and a V5. Now all of our weather icons can go as large as 110. So again, you can kind of tell it how big or how small you want it to be. So we'll go ahead and just kind of enter some information in here. And again, feel free to kind of copy this and play around with it yourself. And again, it's asking for the temp basically the size, not the color or anything like that, but basically the size. So again, we'll do some CSS here. So font size, 50px maybe, and then we'll kind of copy and paste it here. All right, so let's just kind of see what this looks like. So that way we have an idea. So I'll hit OK, and then I'm going to go into preview. All right, as you can see that my weather is basically a black font, so we just need to change that. And then basically I need to change the size a little bit. So let's go back out of here. We'll kind of double click in. And now we'll go into the style piece. So I can choose Arial. I can choose a certain color, so we'll choose white. We don't have to worry about the size because I've already put in the size down here. Like I said, you kind of saw it cut off a little bit. So maybe I want to change this to a little bit of smaller font. And then maybe I want to bold it. Now, one thing to know is we have this raw CSS. And so basically a lot of people use that as for the fonts. Now you're not limited to these 5 fonts, but one thing to just keep in mind is, does the player have the font? So if you wanted to override it, what you could do is come in here and basically use a little bit more CSS. So you can see that this is grayed out now because this is overriding it. So I've changed the color. I made sure that it was bold, not that I needed to change some size. Let's kind of take another look and see what that looks like. All right, so now you can see that those adjustments that I made, I applied the color, did a little bit of CSS on the fonts, has really kind of made that change. Now I can keep going back and kind of adjusting it, kind of spacing these out, maybe changing the colors. Maybe I want to try a different weather widget, but you can kind of get the idea of how this works. You can also go back and then again, like I said, play with some of these templates. So that's kind of it for the tutorial. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to call or email us. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.